Hi everyone, welcome to Imola this afternoon, where you join us for race 2 for Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli. The mix of pro and AM drivers and some 458 cars on track as well for the 30-minute race to come. And if it goes by the example set by the other races we've had this weekend, boy, it's going to be a good one. Hold on to your seats for the next 30 minutes because we've got some great race action to come for you in this wonderful setting at Imola. Having already been to Valencia, Monza, Budapest, Le Castellet, the UK at Silverstone, now we're at Imola with just 2 races plus this one left when we head to the Finale Mondiale in Mugello for the final 2 races after this one to set the 458 Pro and AM champions for 2017. Autodromo di Imola then is where we're at, and it is the 4.9 kilometer circuit, which features 16 turns, 9 of them left-handers, 6 of them are right-handers, and it carves its way through this beautiful scenery and topography here in Imola. We're about 30 minutes from Bologna, I guess, and it is a truly iconic circuit which bites you on the bottom if you get it wrong. And across the course of the weekend, a number of drivers have got it wrong, but one who has not is Björn Grossman, who goes from P1 on the grid, the current Trofeo Pirelli champion for Octane 126. So it's a P1 on the grid for Björn Grossman, who of course took the win in race 1 yesterday. You certainly wouldn't bet against him making it 2 out of 2 this weekend in the rather lovely 22-degree air temperature that we have here, 34 degrees on track for the 458s. To the left of your picture, just saw Johnny Lawson, who is leading the Copa Shell points in the Ferrari Challenge, walking off the grid, which sees Björn Grossman and Philip Barron. What a combo on row 1. Then it's Daniele Di Amato, the current championship charger, going from P3. Jens Liebhauser, the best of the AM drivers, going from P4. Then it's Sam Smith and Martin Nelson. On row 3 of the grid, it's P5 and P6. Then we find Alessandro Vezzoni and Chris Froggatt, Joshua Cartu and Bonamy Grimes, with Tommaso Roca and Mark Brough rounding out the top 12 places before Christian Overgaard, Robin Jensen. And then we see the first of the 458s, Yoshiki Omura. Then it's Per Nielsen with Galip Attar and Holger Humps. And then the final 2 of the 458 drivers that are here this weekend, although we only have 3 of them on the grid for this race. So Jens Liebhauser, there he is, leader in the AM points for Formula Racing, and his time of 1:43.731 split the pro drivers, because he's quicker than Sam Smith, who goes from P5, who is a pro driver and indeed was the AM champion last year. There is a chance that Daniele Di Amato potentially could take the 2017 championship with this race. Of course, we will keep you posted across the developments of that. And, of course, we also hope that it all goes to the final rounds in Mugello. And you haven't got long to wait before those Finale Mondiale celebrations in just 3 weeks' time. So Sam Smith, then the British driver there in car number 92 of Stratstone Ferrari. The 1:43.789 time that he set in qualifying is enough to give him P5 on the grid, and suspected that there was a little bit more to come from the number 92 car that Sam Smith could have wrestled away, but wasn't able to do so in the qualifying session. As always, the grid is a packed place ahead of the start of the race, and the Hublot safety car is the car that will lead them away. It's a rolling start in the Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli, and there are 3 categories then. Well, 2 categories in reality: the pro drivers, who have a white sunstrip, then the AM drivers, who have a black sunstrip, and Martin Nelson is the second fastest of the AM drivers, going from P6 on the grid, and he was the race 1 winner. He has his arch rival Jens Liebhauser ahead of him, but crucially he has Chris Froggatt, who's above him in the points, behind him. So Martin Nelson then in a good qualifying position. So AM drivers, the pro drivers have the white sunstrip across the top of the windscreen, and then the 458s have a blue sunstrip across the top of the windscreen. That's the way it looks across this Ferrari 488 challenge. Alessandro Vezzoni, another one of the pro drivers, going from P7 on the grid. The Rosso Corsa Pellin racer, probably would be fair to say, has not got the best out of the car on this particular circuit, as Beppe Scanetti then, our safety car driver, avails himself of a kiss from one of the Pirelli girls down there on track. And there some of the spectators awaiting the race action to come. We're not many moments away from the race getting underway. In fact, 4 minutes or so. 3.5, actually, if I'm going to be absolutely accurate. There, Daniele D'Amato's car is not on the grid, just being fed that information. Renato D'Amato is Daniele's father. You can see him right at the back of the grid, and they're doing something in the engine compartment as we speak. So Daniele D'Amato should be going from P3 on the grid. Now, this is crucial in terms of time, because if he doesn't make it out onto the grid at the start of the race, at the start of the formation lap, should the car be running, he will have to start from the pit lane, which means from the back of the grid. So this is all playing into the hands of what will be a critical chase into the championship. Very interesting indeed. So Daniele D'Amato's car then remains in the garage with just 3 minutes before the formation lap. That means that the CDP team have got merely 3 minutes to get that car running and get it down the pit lane. Because if they don't do that, well, the drama continues. It has been a weekend of non-stop drama across the Ferrari Challenge. And that drama is heightened still further with the news there and the images of Daniele D'Amato's car still in the garage and not in that P3 position on the grid. Well, Daniele D'Amato's car has been ultra reliable all season long, and alongside me, Nico Spalek is doing the sums, and Philip Barron needs to beat Daniele D'Amato to take the decision to the World Finals in Mugello. So that's the latest info with regard to the points. Some wonderful images. So the cars on their way on their formation lap. The best of the AM drivers then in terms of grid position, going from P4, but P1 in the AMs is Jens Liebhauser.
Hi, I'm Jens Liebhauser. I'm the pole man today here in Imola, entro Ferrari Autodromo. I'm still leading the AM Championship in Europe and looking forward to the Finale Mondiale in Mugello. Thank you, guys. Thank you to my team, Formula Racing and AF Corse.
So good to hear from Jens Liebhauser then, who has got a slender margin at the top of the points at the moment, but it is a slender margin in the AM Championship. We're on the formation lap then as the cars are making their way around the track, ready to start this race. Trofeo Pirelli race 2 then, and trying to ascertain whether Daniele Di Amato's car is on the way down the pit lane or not. All the social media at the top of the screen for you now. And from our commentary position, unable to tell, and certainly nothing being revealed on the track map either with regards to Daniele Di Amato's car. All the cars will line up and grid up behind the safety car, which is on its way around the Ravazza turns, or towards the Ravazza turns now. And Daniele Di Amato then, will he be starting from the pit lane? Will he be a non-starter? This is crucial in terms of the championship. Great news for Philip Barron, potentially, who is the driver on the left of your screen, the all-green car of Philip Barron, who's on the front row alongside Björn Grossman. These two are going to fight tooth and nail going into the first turns, of that you can be assured. It really advantages potentially Sam Smith, another pro driver. And sure enough, there is the car. Thank you, Franco. Daniele Di Amato's car still being worked on. He is not going to make the start of the race. The lights go green, let's go racing. Martin Nelson on a dive, Sam Smith also on a dive. That's because Jens Liebhauser immediately went into the gap that had been vacated by the non-appearance of the Daniele Di Amato car. Sam Smith on the inside of Jens Liebhauser. Jens Liebhauser and Martin Nelson 1 and 2 in the AM drivers at the moment, because Sam Smith has got ahead of them. Björn Grossman then, it is leading from Philip Barron, who is P2. Sam Smith has made his way up to P3. Jens Liebhauser P4. Then it's Martin Nelson and Chris Froggatt. All of those AM protagonists are in a fight together. So as this opening lap then gets underway, Chris Froggatt already beginning to push Martin Nelson really hard, which plays into the hands of Jens Liebhauser in that car, who is able to get up the road. One is off into the gravel. The start is under investigation. Quelle surprise. There's Alessandro Vezzoni, another one of the pro drivers. But it is Björn Grossman that has got a 6/10 margin over Philip Barron in the opening lap. There's Josh Cartu in car number 30 then. Runs across the curbs, but here you can see Björn Grossman and Philip Barron. These two drivers have got some history between them. And Philip Barron, who received a drive-through penalty yesterday, will be utterly desperate to win this race today to make amends for yesterday. So as the cars make their way downhill, going towards the two Ravazza turns now, the brake discs light up in the Joshua Cartu car. And here's Philip Barron really taking the fight to Björn Grossman. It's Per Nielsen, the car which was in the gravel. And car number 45, which is Christian Overgaard, is going to get a drive-through penalty for working on the car at the 3-minute signal. Here comes Philip Barron on the inside of Björn Grossman. Going into the first turns, they're side by side. There is contact between the two of them. Björn Grossman trying to squeeze Philip Barron out. He's got the inside now, though. The overtake is done. Philip Barron, no, gets turned around and spins, and an almighty crash into the barriers. Now, whether there was contact from Björn Grossman or whether Philip Barron was just carrying too much speed, for sure that will be a safety car. absolutely no question about that. The Octane 126 team look on. Of course, Björn Grossman is their driver. Sure enough, safety car is called for, and first thoughts, of course, are making sure that Philippe Barron is okay, because, boy, that was quite an impact into the barriers. You could see the car, both ends, utterly destroyed in that incident. So safety car is out then, right at the start of this Trofeo Pirelli race. Well, Philippe Barron is perfectly okay. He's out of the car, as you can see. And that is the best news indeed, but the back end of the car is absolutely destroyed. So Philippe Barron then, what does this do to the championship position? So Björn Grossman and Philippe Barron, as we get a replay of the start here, they were always going to fight tooth and nail. And they did. We part and half expected there to be maybe some contact in the opening lap, but it actually came in lap 2. As the one that really took advantage at the beginning, and there we can see Per Nielsen running into the gravel. This was the start of the overtake then from Philippe Barron and Björn Grossman, neither driver being prepared to give a centimetre. Now, whether Philippe Barron, we can't tell from that camera angle. Look at that, the car pirouetting in the air. And Fabien Volven to the right-hand side of your picture there, having taken success in Copa-Shell for the Octane 126 team. Could see that all unfolding on the screen in front of them. So the safety car picks them up then, and some barriers that have been damaged, as you can see. The tyre barriers doing their work in terms of absorbing the impact from the Rosso Corsa car of Philippe Barron. We've already seen Philippe out of the car, and we know he's okay. And that, of course, is the most important thing. But boy, he went into those barriers at some pace. Now, whether the back end of the car just got onto the grass and the exit of the turn, and that was enough to send the back end around, not sure. Would need to see it from a different angle, truthfully. And you can see all the debris across the track there. The track marshals will work to clear up that debris, but the race is brought under the control of the safety car. And, well, Björn Grossman it is that leads the race. From now, Sam Smith, who will be in P2 with Philippe Barron out of the race. We look at the Bonamy Grimes car there, car number 81. There is Joshua Cartu. So the front-running cars all weaving from side to side to try and maintain some temperature into those tyres. I think it's going to be an elongated safety period, because I suspect that the barrier work will have to be done before the cars are allowed to race again. While we take our breath, here is the challenge show. So there we can see the Rosso Corsa pit wall, of course. Their driver, Philippe Barron, is the driver that pirouetted into the barriers there. Having looked at every single thing that we can look at, we think that probably Philippe just got onto the grass and the back end of the car let go. Here is a replay of the start. We're on board here looking at the Joshua Cartu car. Bear in mind the start's under investigation in any event, but then I think all 4 races starts have been under investigation here at Imola. Part of the reason for that is that, actually, and I was talking to Christoph Herney about this, you're unsighted, you cannot see the lights, dependent upon where on the grid you are. So there is Sam Smith, who's currently in P2. Safety car continuing to lead them around then, and as I say, I think this will be a fair period of safety car intervention, because if they choose to repair the barriers and sweep up all the debris that's out there on the track, that is not going to be the work of a moment, let alone recovering the car of Philippe Barron, which has been so badly damaged in that in that incident. We've had some incidents this weekend. Chris Froggatt, who's out there at the moment and is running in P5, he actually rolled his car this weekend through the gravel trap. There is Fabienne Volvend. She set history this weekend by becoming the first ever lady to win in the Ferrari Challenge. And there is Fabio Lima. They're really discussing that move, I think. And Fabio Lima down there, who has also raced in the Ferrari Challenge. Not only that, of course, he's been GP2 champion. Very, very successful single-seater racer, Fabio Lima. Good to see him back this weekend. Be even better to see him back in Mugello at the wheel of a car, potentially. So, the irony in all of this is that the car that we saw in the gravel was Per Nielsen, who set the fastest lap. I find that extraordinary. Now, the incident involving cars number 1 and 91 is under investigation. That lends me to think that potentially there was contact between the two of them in the exit of that turn. It's very, very difficult to tell from the camera angles that we've seen. I'd be surprised, in truth. I would be surprised, because Barron was probably enough ahead for there not to have been contact. But something made that car, whether he got out onto the grass and just lost traction, and that sent the rear end around. Don't know. All will be revealed in due course. So the team of marshals, without whom there would be no racing, have worked really hard because the safety car is coming in this lap. And we will have 20 minutes remaining. We will have 20 minutes remaining of this race. Now, we're trying to do the computations with regards to points. And we will bring you up to speed when we think we're safe in the computations that we're making. Because right now, we're about to go racing. And we are back after the safety car, and it is Björn Grossman from Sam Smith. So we go back to race conditions again. Jens Liebhauser is now P3, Martin Nelson is P4, Chris Froggatt is P5. So as the cars make their way into the first chicane, expect there to be a big battle between Chris Froggatt and Martin Nelson. And just ahead of them is Jens Liebhauser, who's leading the AM. So we have the top two are both pro drivers, and there's also a battle in the 458s as well as... Now, Daniele Di Amato is on track now from the pit lane. He has managed to get that car out on track. Now, our computations are such, and I'm not prepared to confirm this, but with Philip Barron out of the race, and by virtue of the fact that Daniele Di Amato is now in the race, we think that Daniele Di Amato will potentially become champion, but I'll confirm that. The drive-through penalty for car number 80 for a jump start, that's Mark Bruff. There's also a drive-through penalty for car treble 2, which is Holger Harmsen for a jump start, as Chris Froggatt continues to chase down Martin Nelson in the AM battles. It's Grossman, Smith, Liebhauser, Nelson, then it is Froggatt. So Björn Grossman then, followed by Sam Smith, then Jens Liebhauser, Martin Nelson, Chris Froggatt, then it's Alessandro Vezzoni. And onto the start-finish straight they come now. Björn Grossman and Sam Smith, two pro drivers, P1 and P2. And Björn Grossman for the Octane 126 team, of course, took victory yesterday. And Sam Smith for Great Britain then, behind the German driver. Sam had a torrid time of it at his home race in Silverstone, and has made good this weekend by taking P2 in race 1 yesterday. Love to be P1 today, but he's got Björn Grossman to get by. The leader in the AMS is Jens Liebhauser, as you can see, in car number 44. He's P3 in the race overall, but he is also, of course, leading the AM championship. Martin Nelson and Chris Froggatt also in that fight for the AM Championship, and they're running P2 and P3 in the AM classification at the moment. So there is Sam Smith then, and interestingly, there is Martin Nelson and Chris Froggatt flashing his lights, trying to distract Martin Nelson and provoke him into making a mistake so that he can go through. Car number 80 is driven by Mark Brough, who has got a jump start, and there's a drive-through penalty for car number 1, Björn Grossman, for causing a collision. Well, there we are. I have to say, I was looking at the car and I thought there is some damage to the front of Björn Grossman's car, which there shouldn't be, but there is, which would intimate that there was a touch, and clearly the race stewards have taken a look at that and agreed. So Björn Grossman then is going to have to come in and take a drive-through penalty, which will mean the lead of the race goes to Sam Smith. So presumably the FF Corsa team on the team radio saying to Sam, don't fight him too hard, he's got to come in and take a drive-through penalty. Being told that the problem with Daniele Di Amato's car was a spark plug. A spark plug. There is Mark Brough, who's come in for his drive-through penalty in car number 80. So Daniele Di Amato's problems at the start of the race then was a spark plug. So there is Björn Grossman, who is leading the race but is getting a drive-through penalty. So P1, then it will be Sam Smith that's elevated into the race lead. Then it will be Jens Liebhauser, then Martin Nelson and Chris Froggatt. So there is Martin Nelson, Chris Froggatt then hounding him, but not able to find a way past him yet. And of course, we've only got 16 minutes of the blooming race left. Bottommy Grimes doing a good job in P4 as well in the AMS. The Autoropa driver, Scuderia Autoropa driver Martin Nelson then, who's P3 in the championship for the AM class at the moment. Of course, if he can keep Chris Froggatt behind him, that will help his point scoring in terms of the AM championship. So as the cars make their way downhill now towards turn number 14, the first of the Rivazza turns. There is Martin Nelson and Chris Froggatt right on his gearbox now. And now Martin Nelson is really under pressure. Chris Froggatt in a borrowed car because his car was rolled over earlier in the weekend. Chris Froggatt now trying to find a way past Martin Nelson. There is Galipata, who's found his way past Yoshiki Omura. So he is now leading the 458 class. Took the win in the 458s yesterday. Galipata then. Martin Nelson still ahead of Chris Froggatt, who has Alessandro Vezzoni for measure as well. Understood. There is Holger Harmsen taking his drive-through penalty. So the battle for second position then in the AM class between Martin Nelson and Chris Froggatt. Right, our computations with regards to the Trofeo Pirelli Pro Championship. Daniele Di Amato needs to A, finish, and to complete 75% of the winner's race distance to score points and to be champion. And by virtue of the fact that I can't remember which lap he came out on, but he'd lost 3 laps, hadn't he? Okay, I think it's pretty likely then that Daniele Di Amato will leave here as Trofeo Pirelli Pro Champion. Okay, still time, 13 and a half minutes, and Alessandro Vezzoni is now joining this battle. Now, bear in mind, Alessandro Vezzoni is a pro driver, and he's fighting 2 AM drivers ahead of him, Martin Nelson and Chris Froggatt. Martin Nelson, look at him. You can see that he's checking every single rearview mirror he's got because he knows that Chris Froggatt wants to find a way past the British driver, Chris Froggatt, then trying to find his way past Martin Nelson. He's clearly quicker, but it's all very well quicker. You're going to have to find your way past, and at the moment he can't do that. There's lots of gravel through that first chicane. That brought about because of various cars have gone through there. So Holger Harmsen has been in for his drive-through penalty. Bjorn Grossman I don't think has yet. And now Martin Nelson really feeling that pressure from Chris Froggatt. Chris Froggatt tries to find a line and is unable to do so. Martin Nelson making the car as wide as possible, which is his right to do. He's defending his position, of course. And Chris Froggatt trying to find his way through. At the moment he's being denied. The leader of the race is Bjorn Grossman, but bear in mind Bjorn Grossman has got a drive-through penalty to serve, which will mean the leader of the race is Sam Smith. So Nelson and Froggatt then, and then it's Alessandro Vezzoni. This is the battle in the AMS, although Alessandro Vezzoni at the back end of that little battle is a pro driver. And Alessandro Vezzoni, the way things stand, could be P2 in the pros in any event, because Bjorn Grossman with that drive-through penalty. So downhill they go towards the Ravazza through turn number 13 now, heading towards turn 14, which is Ravazza 1. Both of the cars light up the front brake discs as the real braking pressure is put through these 488 cars and out onto the start-finish straight once again. Here comes Martin Nelson for Scuderia Autoropa. There is Bjorn Grossman taking his drive-through penalty. So Bjorn Grossman going through, and that is dropping him outside the top 10, I would suggest. And now Froggatt on the inside almost of Martin Nelson, but wasn't quite able to make that stick. So Sam Smith then race leader now ahead of Jens Liebhauser in the AMS. There is Martin Nelson then looking a bit raggy through the exit of that turn. That allows Chris Froggatt to get a little bit closer. And Chris Froggatt himself having to defend from Alessandro Vezzoni. This is allowing Martin Nelson perhaps to breathe a sigh of relief just for a moment. We've got 10.5 minutes of the race remaining. Bear in mind we had that safety car period for the Philip Barron car that was into the barriers. So the Rosso Corsa Racing driver on the badge of the number 93 car, it says Rosso Corsa Racing. Now bear in mind Chris Froggatt is driving that car as a borrowed car, and he's alongside Martin Nelson now, but Chris Froggatt driving for the FF Corsa British team, of course. That car borrowed because his car was destroyed by being rolled over. Well, him rolling it, to be fair, as he went through the gravel. Confirmation from some of the staff here that if D'Amato finishes the race, he is champion. He will be Trofeo Pirelli Pro champion if he finishes the race. Bonamy Grimes then is P4 in the AM standings at the moment in this race. He's P6 in the race overall. And here comes Chris Froggatt once again on Martin Nelson. They've both broken away from Alessandro Vezzoni as Chris Froggatt now. And this was in replay where he got alongside Martin Nelson almost, but wasn't able to make that move stick. And this was Tommaso Rocca battling with Robin Jensen. And on board with Tommaso Rocca, Robin Jensen was able to scrub off the speed. And Chris Froggatt then does go through on Martin Nelson, but carries too much speed and goes through the gravel, and that's dropped him down a place. Because now he's behind Alessandro Vezzoni, ahead of Bonamy Grimes. So he's actually lost a place in that. So there is Martin Nelson. And there is Bonamy Grimes, who is P6. And ahead of him is Chris Froggatt. Of course, in the AMS, we mustn't forget that Jens Liebhauser is a mile up the road, isn't he? He's some 9 seconds ahead of Martin Nelson leading the AMS. Sam Smith is leading the race overall and is the best of the pro drivers. Alessandro Vezzoni is P2 in the pro drivers. And what about this for extraordinary situations? Bjorn Grossman, having served a drive-through penalty, will still, even though he's only running P10, will be P3 in the pros. Meantime, tell you what, the battle is on to Sam Smith here, because Jens Liebhauser, the AM driver, is within 4/10 of Sam Smith. I don't know how much more drama can be thrown at the racing across this weekend. It's been extraordinary. We've got 7.5 minutes left, and Sam Smith, who is the race leader and is a pro driver, is ahead of Jens Liebhauser here, who is an AM driver. But Jens Liebhauser, as I say, is within 4 or 5/10 of him, and he's a sight closer than that now as they make their way uphill. And this was Chris Froggatt then trying to fight his way back. Initially, Bonamy Grimes has got ahead of him. This in replay. So Bonamy Grimes has gone ahead of Chris Froggatt now. But Froggatt has fought back and got... Well, there you can see the standings in the AM classification at the moment. It's still showing that Froggatt is ahead of Grimes. So that in replay was... well, there is the Chris Froggatt car who has got ahead of Bonamy Grimes, to be fair. And is back behind Alessandro Vezzoni. I say back behind Alessandro Vezzoni. Of course, those places were reversed. The standings in the 458. Galopata overtook Yoshika Amura to take P1. Holger Harmsen is P3. He, of course, also having taken a drive-through penalty for a jump start. So Galopata then, in his first full season of the Ferrari Challenge, is potentially going to make it 2 out of 2 in the 458 category. For the Turkish racer, that will be very good news indeed for his championship position in the 458 class. So much going on here. Sam Smith still leading by 6/10 over Jens Liebhauser. Per Nielsen is on the back of the 269 car of Yoshiki Omura, who's P12. Per Nielsen is P13. The fastest lap came on lap number 3, which was from Daniele Di Amato. Once they'd got the spark plug issue sorted, he posted a lap of 1:43.997. So Daniele Di Amato then, all he needs to do is finish the race, complete the race, and he will become the Trofeo Pirelli Pro champion. So Yoshiki Omura then, and there is Tommaso Roca, who is running P9 at the moment, and P7 in the AM class, as you can see. And behind him is Björn Grossman, the driver returning from that drive-through penalty. So Björn Grossman then all over the back of Tommaso Roca now, and will try and make up another place. And we have only 5 minutes of the race remaining. Tommaso Roca then, we're on board with him now as he makes his way uphill into the chicane then, which is the Variante Alta. Tommaso Roca being pushed and knows that he has got Björn Grossman right behind him. Sorry, from the images I saw, I was wrong about where we were on the track, making the way up to the Variante Alta now. So 50 meters now, heavy braking from Tommaso Roca, goes into turn 11 out of turn 12, and now will be flat out downhill underneath the bridge through turn number 13, which is the very slight right-hander, which is taken absolutely flat, and then into the Ravazzas. There's Daniele Di Amato, who's running P17 for the CDP team. You'll recall that he didn't make the lineup on the grid and joined the race from the pit lane once they'd got the spark plug issue sorted. But Daniele Di Amato, all he needs to do is complete the race and finish the race, and he will be Trofeo Pirelli Pro champion before we even go to Mugello. It will be a phenomenal achievement for Daniele Di Amato and a phenomenal achievement for the CDP team as well. So 3.5 minutes remaining of this final race of this race weekend here at Imola. The Ferrari Challenge has provided us with some incredible race action across this weekend. It's been extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. Sam Smith still leading from Jens Liebhauser, Martin Nelson, Alessandro Vezzoni. Then it's Chris Froggatt, Bonamy Grimes, Joshua Kartu, Robin Jensen, Tommaso Roca, and Björn Grossman is into the top 10 and is the third pro driver at the moment, P3 in the Trofeo Pirelli standings in this race. So Daniele Di Amato then is actually, although he's P17, he is driving for the championship because he needs to finish the race. And he's got the race leaders about to come up to him now, although I suspect the pace that D'Amato has got, as Sam Smith and Jens Liebhauser make their way around the start-finish straight. So we have a pro driver leading the race, an AM driver in P2 in the race. Of course, they're both P1 in their own classes. So at the moment, they're both lapping marginally quicker than Daniele D'Amato. But with only 2 minutes and a quarter left on the clock, D'Amato is not going to be a back marker for them. I suspect that they're not going to be on him in time. So Liebhauser then, who has both of them run a bit wide, of course, tyre degradation. Right at the end of the race, the tyres have worn. Sam Smith then doing a great job out front. Everything has really come to him because of the loss of Philippe Baron in the crash, and then the drive-through penalty for Björn Grossman. Sam Smith perhaps being gifted some luck that wasn't afforded to him in Silverstone in his home race weekend. So here in Italy, Sam Smith leading the race from Jens Liebhauser, who's P2, pro driver, AM driver, P1 and P2 in the race. Both of them P1 in their own classes. Make their way downhill now through turn number 13, absolutely flat before the car front end compresses under braking as they turn into Ravazza 1 and then Ravazza 2 following a short blip on the throttle. And across the timing line they will come now. Sam Smith leading the race from Jens Liebhauser. Both of them are some 13 seconds up the road of Martin Nelson in P3 and P2 overall in the AM classification. P3 overall, but P2 in the AM classification. Super slow-mo, hyper slow-mo of Sam Smith then, and the yellow duct tape across the front of his car. There is Jens Liebhauser, leader in the AM classification, and P2 in the race overall. And we are on the last lap now. So Daniele D'Amato only needs to finish to become the Trofeo Pirelli Pro Champion. Of course, Sam Smith just needs to maintain his position now and keep his car ahead of that of Jens Liebhauser to maintain that P1 position in the race overall. Jens Liebhauser, of course, is fighting in the AM Championship. He's the current leader of the AM Championship, and he will bank maximum points for a win. Even though he's P2 in the race, he is the leader of the AM classification, and they have but a few more turns to do. Leader in the 458, as you can see on screen, is Galip Attar, who's some 6 seconds ahead of Yoshika Omura. So Smith and Liebhauser now make their way down through turn number 13. They have just 2 more turns to do. And the checkered flag will be unfurled in what has been an extraordinarily dramatic final race in the Ferrari Challenge weekend here at Imola as we celebrate the 70th anniversary of this phenomenal brand. The Ferrari 488 of Sam Smith takes the checkered flag and will win at Imola. P2 goes the way of Jens Liebhauser, though he picks up the win in the AM class. Here comes Martin Nelson, who will take P2 in the AMs. P3 in the race overall, followed by Chris Froggatt, who will be P3 in the AMs and P4 in the race overall ahead of Alessandro Vezzoni. Then it will be a great finish from Bonamy Grimes, who takes P6 in the race overall, P4 in the AMs. Then it will be Robin Jensen. Björn Grossman, remarkably, will finish P9 in the race overall, but will be P3 in the pros. And rounding out the top 10 is Tommaso Rocca. What a race. Daniele D'Amato needs to cross the finish line. There is Galip Attar in the 458 as Mark Brough runs wide and picks up quite a bit of gravel, but Galip Attar takes the checkered flag and wins in the 458 category. Well done, Galip Attar. 2 out of 2 for him. Yoshiki Omura crosses the timing line now. Then it will be Christian Overgaard, Holger Harmsen, and then it should be Daniele D'Amato. Daniele D'Amato needs to take the checkered flag. And here he is then, Daniele D'Amato in car number 25. It's not been a race momentous by his standards, but it will be momentous in terms of the fact that as soon as the checkered flag falls on the car number 25, the 488 engineered by CDP, driven by Daniele D'Amato, he becomes the Trofeo Pirelli Pro champion. He's not taken the checkered flag yet, but he does now. So he is Trofeo Pirelli Pro champion Daniele D'Amato. You wouldn't believe it, for finishing P17 in the race. But that is enough for him to have sealed the championship before going to the final round in Mugello. I think I need to lie down after that race. There is our race winner, Sam Smith. Got a lot of support here at Imola this weekend, which has spurred him on, I feel sure. So Sam Smith, he climbs out of the car. He's one of the most even-tempered racing drivers I think I've met. A thoroughly nice guy. And he has taken the win. Well done, Sam Smith. Taken the win in the AMS, but taken P2 in the race overall. Jens Liebhauser, who hasn't quite made it out of the car yet. There he is. And altogether different to the celebrations from Sam Smith, from Jens Liebhauser. And here's Galabata, complete with the flag, as he always does on his slowing down lap. One of the true characters of the Ferrari Challenge is Galabata. Oh, here we go, take two then for the photographers. And Daniele D'Amato then, spark plug faulty or not, is doing some donuts to celebrate the fact that he's won the championship. And you have to say it's a very deserved win. He has been extraordinary. So Daniele D'Amato, the Trofeo Pirelli Pro champion, then will bring the car home now. He has done enough to seal the Trofeo Pirelli Pro championship. And he's taking the car back to the pit lane now. Let me have a breath. Here's the challenge show. Not sure how much drama more we can take. Sam Smith, Vetsoni, and Bjorn Grossman take the 1, 2, 3 in the pro race. Jens Liebhauser, Martin Nelson, Chris Froggatt take the 1, 2, 3 in the AMS. In 4, 5, 8, it's Galapata, Yoshiki Omura, and Holger Harmsen, the 1, 2, 3. Well, we're going to head up to the podium next. So we will be heading up to the podium momentarily, and 2 podiums, of course, the pro podium and the AM podium as well. If you wonder what all the noise was from our commentary studio, which is situated in the race control building, well, just to our left-hand side was Daniele Di Amato bringing his car into the Parc Ferme area as champion, of course, and therefore was celebrating that fact by certainly giving the engine plenty of revs. So there is the Smith contingent down there to support their man on the top step of the podium. Daniele Di Amato then on 193 points has done enough to win the Drivers' Championship. Sam Smith P2, Philip Barron P3 at the moment. And let's go to the pro podium. Björn Grossman is P3, Alessandro Vezzoni P2, and Sam Smith then and Anthony Cheshire, the team principal of FF Corse, are up there on the podium as well. National anthem time. Apologies, of course. Galapato, complete with flag, completes the podium. He's the winner in the 458s. Trofeo presentation time then. Bjorn Grossman, Pierre Giovanni Ricci, then the general manager of Formula Imola making the trophy presentations. First of all to Bjorn Grossman, then to Alessandro Vezzoni. And the winner's trophy going the way of Sam Smith. Anthony Cheshire will receive the team's trophy. So the Teo Meyer making the Pirelli trophy presentation. Galapatar then makes it 2 out of 2 this weekend. A brilliant performance from the 458 driver. And of course, Galapatar receives another trophy from Teo Meyer from Pirelli as well. Big smiles all round then for the photographs up there on the podium. Well done. What a race indeed. Super slow-mos of the top three. First of all, taking P3, Bjorn Grossman. P2 goes the way of Alessandro Vezzoni. But the winner for Great Britain and the FF Corse team of Stratstone Ferrari, the winner is Sam Smith. And the winner in the 458s then from Turkey, Galapatar. Here comes the AM podium then. Daniele Di Amato then celebrating his championship down there in Parc Fermé, and his father Renata then. Here's the podium then for the AMs. Martin Nelson is on the podium, Chris Froggatt is on the podium, and on the top step, it's Jens Liebhauser. So here come the trophies to be presented for the AM drivers. Chris Froggatt then banks another trophy. Andrea Modena, then head of after sales Ferrari Europe and Africa, making the trophy presentations this afternoon to the AM drivers. Martin Nelson takes a P2. And Jens Liebhauser on the top step once again takes the winner's trophy. The AM classification and the AM points championship going to go all the way to Mugello. Formula Racing, of course, collecting the team's trophy. And Teo Meyer making the Pirelli presentation as well. So all the drivers will get together once again for the photographs. Come on, smile, Jens. Thank you. Right, who will win the race for the champagne? Yep, here we go. Yeah, it was definitely Jens Liebhauser. There was someone there being targeted, I feel sure, somewhat. Super Slow-Mo's the top three cars in the AM class, then Chris Froggatt, P3, P2 for the Scuderia Autoropa driver Martin Nelson, and P1 for the German racer for Formula Racing. It is Jens Liebhauser, there's the car. And there is Angelo Dupuy from the CDP team and Daniele Di Amato taking an impromptu podium moment to celebrate the fact that, of course, they have taken the Trofeo Pirelli Pro honours. And Michele Mambrelli there going to have a word with Daniele Di Amato. Boy, that was dramatic for him because, of course, didn't even make it out onto the grid. But there he is, Daniele Di Amato. He is the Trofeo Pirelli Pro champion before heading to Mugello, and absolutely thrilled with taking that. And Angelo Dupuy then from the CDP team as well. Of course, there is his father, Renata, whom he used to race with. They used to share the car. He's also been racing in other categories this year, but by Jiminy, he's been so very, very successful in the Trofeo Pirelli Pro class of the Ferrari Challenge. And, well, he has sealed everything that he needed to do because he has taken the championship here at Imola. And he's full of thanks for members of his team and family as well. At one point, he had taken something like 5 wins in a row before P2s. And I mean, actually, the irony is that this race is the only race where he has not been on the podium. So and it's the race in which he wins the championship. Just by finishing the race, he has done enough to seal the Trofeo Pirelli Pro Championship. And Angelo Dupuy being interviewed now then up there on the podium. And there we can see the race and championship winning car, the number 25 car, engineered by CDP. And isn't it interesting, right at the very race that is going to win the championship with, he wasn't able to make it to the grid, but certainly did some donuts to celebrate the fact that he did seal the championship. Well done, Daniele D'Amato, the new Trofeo Pirelli Pro Champion. And that was a reasonable dance across the top of the podium there. That was extraordinary. So the teams make their way away from the podium now. And in the Drivers' Championship then in the AMS, we can see that Jens Liebhauser on 182 points, so Chris Froggatt on 169. Quickly working out in my head, Martin Nelson is still just in it, to be fair, and could take it, but needs other things to go his way. Let's take a look at the highlights now. So as the lights went green then for race number 2 in Trofeo Pirelli, Daniele D'Amato did not make it to the grid. That meant that Sam Smith should go into P3, but he was made to work for it by Jens Liebhauser. It was always going to be a tight tussle between Björn Grossman and Philip Barron right at the front of the pack, and the tussle on lap 2 would get ever more dramatic as they made their way through the first chicane. There was problems almighty for Philip Barron as he pirouetted, and Fabian Volvend looked on in horror. The safety car was called for. The best news of all was Philip Barron walked away completely unharmed, reinforcing the integrity of the safety of the 488 car. The AM battle, well, Jens Liebhauser was up the road, which meant it was the P2 battle that became most appealing. Chris Froggatt, with a valiant effort to overtake Martin Nelson, went horribly wrong as he went through the gravel, not for the first time this weekend. Renata D'Amato was on the team radio too, his son saying, keep out there, if you just finish the race, you could become the champion. Sam Smith won from Jens Liebhauser, who took P2, but won in the AM classification. And Daniele D'Amato, just by finishing the race, became the Trofeo Pirelli champion for 2017. Sam Smith, race winner, victorious on the day. In the season, victorious was Daniele D'Amato. And will the AM Championship go the way of Jens Liebhauser? So the next event, 26th to the 29th of October at Mugello. You cannot miss it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in Mugello. Bye-bye for now.